Hello everybody, Scott Joseph, live again on IG, right here at NADA, the J&L Marketing booth, 3266C, special guest, Katie Maris. All right, and let me tell you something, I've listened to Katie now twice at the TEDx Fixed Ops Roundtables, outstanding speaker.
Thank you.
But more importantly, delivers very valuable content. So today, we're going to let you talk, and I'm going to ask maybe just a few questions.
All right.
And I'm going to let you talk and explain your 5 steps to this 5-star treatment, because, listen, the customer experience and how we treat customers, critical when it comes to differentiating your store.
I mean, it's everything.
Yeah.
It's absolutely everything. You know, from a marketing perspective, it fill the funnel. But as soon as that person walks through the door, that sales associate needs to be able to convert them.
Yep.
And the only way to do that now is through the experience, because let's face it, we know what we want, what type, what make, what trim level, what price we want to pay. I mean, the customer is well prepared. The experience is all that matters. So I've developed a formula in a sense, 5 steps to a 5-star experience that helps dealers level up the experience that essentially customers expect, because their expectations of an experience are being formed by Nordstrom's and Starbucks and Chick-fil-A.
I love that you say that.
It really is. But unfortunately, the expectations of the automotive industry are so low. I say unfortunately, but I think it's a really cool place to be, because you can only go up from rock bottom. But it won't take a lot.
And some stores do a great job.
Oh, yes.
But it
Yes.
doesn't matter if they do a great job if the perception is not that.
So perception is reality,
Right.
and I talk about this all the time. Actually, on stage yesterday, I was speaking here about the female consumer at NADA. And I was on stage and I asked for permission to be radically honest, just like I did at TEDx Roundtable, and they all said yes. Well, here's the thing, you don't matter. What you think a good experience is does not matter. What matters is how the customer feels the experience is.
That's exactly right.
So perception is reality.
That's right. So let's walk through your 5 steps.
All right, 5 steps to a 5-star experience. So number 1, what you say and how you say it matters. Your words have power, and the tone that you use can either inspire someone or completely turn someone away. I mean, I make a living off of it, right? Like, it is all about how you speak to your customer, especially when it comes to the female consumer, and really every customer in general. I know that the automotive industry has their own language, like an up.
There's blogs and all kinds of articles listing all the words.
Right? And so there's this language that unfortunately for the industry does not exist outside of the industry, and customers don't want to be talked to like that. And the tone matters, your tonality matters. You have to show up being excited to serve your customers. So you want to use, you don't want to use slang anymore, not hey, you want to use hello. You don't want fragmented sentences, you want to elevate the language you use, and the tone that you use, it matters. So that's number 1.
I think I saw a survey, or a study, not a survey, where, and I'm gonna butcher these percentages.
It's all good, I butcher things all the time.
50-something% your physiology on what you say, 30-something% on your tone, and I think it's only 7% of what you're saying.
The words?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that goes to the point of what you're saying.
Yes, it's all about tone. And here's the thing, is that there's a study done. When you're conversating with somebody, when you're 1/3 of your way into a sentence, that person is already formulating their response. So if you do not capture their attention with their tonality, your tonality, they're gone.
Yeah.
You know, and when I do smaller sessions, like I could sit here and say 5 steps to a 5-star experience. What you say and how you say it matters. Or I could get super excited about it, and that's what's going to captivate, and you have to do the same thing with your customers.
So we've talked to 3 people today in a row. You, Charlie Williams,
So you've got
Stephen
personality.
Mason.
Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
So that's right. So high energy people, and I can't remember, I think it was Stephen who was talking about in sales and talking to customers how, you know, it's really transference of emotion.
Yes,
right?
it is.
And so if you're going to be, I don't want to use boring, dull, you're not being passionate, you're not influencing people with how you're speaking.
Yes.
You do lose them.
Well, so there's the study done.
What are you transferring?
Nothing.
Right.
So we experience approximately 20,000 moments in a day. So from the time our alarm goes off, maybe we press snooze a couple times. So the time your feet hit the ground to the time you put your head back on the pillow, it's about 20,000 moments. Now our brains will tell us whether or not we're having a good day or a bad day based off our good moments, our neutral moments, and our less than stellar moments. The neutral moments get thrown away. So whether we have a good day or a bad day are based off of the moments that actually impact us. So if you're boring, or if your tone isn't there and you're not excited to be with your customer, you're creating moments that do not resonate with them.
Talk to me a little bit before we go into your second step.
Yes.
Where'd you learn all this?
Well, so I have a master's in adult training and development.
Okay.
And I went to school and I studied the adult mind because we learn so much differently than somebody in high school.
Because you
somebody
speak
in
with a lot of
college.
psychology behind what you say, right?
Well, so there's nothing that I do. Now, customer experience can be taken as warm and fuzzy.
Right.
Which it is. It's all about the way you make someone feel, but there's science behind it. So, for example, our limbic brain, which is the emotion and memory hub of our brain, is what actually tells us whether or not we feel good about something, which drives our decision to purchase.
Right.
In a woman, because I'm all about the female consumer, our limbic brain is 2 times the size of a man's.
Wait a minute, you're what?
Our limbic brain.
All right. Is that the good part?
That's the good part. That's the good part, yes.
All right.
But our limbic brain is actually double the size of yours.
Okay.
So if you wonder why your wife, your girlfriend, your sister, your mother, your daughter has remembered a fight from 5 years ago in grave detail,
My wife, any story she wants from me, I want to just give her. This is the
Okay.
summary, and she always asks for it. And I'm like, I don't know the details.
but it's all about details. And
I don't
it's
know the
about
details about my stories today.
But so there's another reason for that. And we're going a little off topic,
Sorry.
but there's another reason for that. So men communicate with one side of your brain, the logical side. Women actually communicate with 2, creative and logical.
Yeah.
So with that, we're able to retain so many details and actually spit out logic with the details.
All right, so let's take, before we go to step 2.
Yes.
All right. I'm either a fixed ops director or I'm a sales manager at a dealership. Doesn't matter. I've got a female customer coming in.
Yes.
How would I communicate to them differently to create? So you've already told us in terms of how you speak, but
Yes.
what would I do with them differently than, say, the man to help the customer experience?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're fixed ops, I always say when a woman drives into the service drive, number 1 is she's definitely got a purse and a laptop bag and a coffee. So you want to make sure the first, and it doesn't even have to be with actual words, the first thing you want to do is open the door for her and greet her with a smile.
Yeah.
If a man and a woman walk in together, you want to make sure you're greeting both the man and the woman.
Okay.
Not just the man or just the woman. See, women don't necessarily want to actually be treated differently.
Right.
They want to be treated as an equal. Now, when you're actually speaking to a woman, eye contact, taking the time to understand her, showing compassion and empathy, revealing your own vulnerabilities. Like if she is a soccer mom.
That's how I picked up my wife. No.
If she is a soccer mom that feels like a taxi driver, and you happen to be a soccer dad that feels like a taxi driver, reveal that vulnerability because that makes you human.
Yeah.
Use her name and make sure that you actually listen because we tend to over communicate sometimes.
Okay. So what is step 2?
Step 2.
To building the 5-star.
Yes. So step 2 is using the customer's name.
Yeah.
So using the customer's name, but more importantly also is using your own name.
How often on the customer's name? When's it
yes.
too much?
Oh, so I actually can't stand, and I've designed a lot of experiences, when you see those articles that say use the customer's name 2 to 3 times throughout the interaction.
Yeah.
So like the sandwich, beginning, the middle, the end, and it feels so unnatural.
Right.
So here's my rule of thumb. Once you get the name, use it.
Okay.
And use it naturally. That's it. Like, have a conversation with the human being in front of you and treat them like a human being.
All right, so Katie, what is step 3?
Step 3 is to be genuine.
See, you didn't even notice what I did there.
You did. You used my name.
Yeah.
I love it, Scott. Thank you.
I forced it, but I tried to make it sound natural.
Oh, but yes, step 3 is to be genuine.
Okay.
So, and just as I spoke at the round table yesterday,
Yep.
we, unfortunately, when I am working with dealerships or really any organization, I often get the question or the hesitation of, but how do I get to be genuine if I don't care about, like, it's just a stranger? Like, how can and as I said yesterday, there's a bigger problem if you can't be genuine with the person that puts food on your table.
Yeah.
Like, there's a bigger problem.
Well, how about ask yourself better questions? In other words, what could I like about this person? What do I like about this person?
Yes.
If you can't come up with an answer, what could I like about
Yes.
this person,
Yes.
right? What do they have in common with me? Things that...
Yeah, you can take that selfish approach for sure to make
You know?
make yourself feel good. But at the end of the day, that person is the reason your lights are on.
That's
That
correct.
human being is the reason kids go to school and have clothes on their back and families are fed. And so if you can't be genuine with somebody that keeps your life afloat, then like you're in the wrong business.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a people business, for sure.
People do business with people. They don't do business with brands.
That's right. All right, so we got how you talk, use their name.
Yes.
All right, be
Be
genuine.
Collect golden nuggets and anticipate their needs.
What do you mean by that?
Golden
Like
nuggets. So who is our favorite person to talk about?
Ourselves.
Ourselves. So a lot of organizations, dealerships, leaders, managers think that customer experience is so hard. The tailoring of the personal experience is so hard. But it's really not, because if you let your customer talk long enough, they're going to give you everything you need to personalize that experience. So what I mean by collecting golden nuggets is pick up on the fact that, you know, she has 3 kids or she's a soccer mom, or that he loves, I'm from Toronto, he loves the Raptors and they just won, the NBA championship, and use that information to connect with them. I was most recently, I guess a year ago, I was in Singapore. I was working with Celebrity Cruises, and I flew over, and it was a 29-hour flight. Bad for me. I don't sleep on airplanes, and that's like I spend more time in the
You don't
sky
take
than I do on the
melatonin?
ground. I can't. It doesn't work. I've tried everything. Trust me, I have tried to self-medicate to sleep, and I can't. So I arrived in Singapore onto the ship completely exhausted. I get into my bed in my stateroom. I just start closing my eyes, and my phone rings. I was so frustrated. I pick it up and I'm like, Mrs. Maris, we need your passport for the documentation. And I'm like, can I bring it down tomorrow? I don't start training for the next 2 days. Unfortunately, the ship can't leave the port unless we have your document. I said, I'm really tired. My head hurts. She goes, you know what, Mrs. Maris? I'm going to come up and I'm going to get it for you, from you. Wonderful. I don't have to get out of my pajamas, get all dolled up to walk across the ship and it's a big deal. So she comes up 5 minutes later, knock at the door. Mrs. Maris, I give the passport. So that's anticipating my needs. But she also brought with her, what do you think she brought with her?
Well, I would hope that she'd bring something to help you.
Right. So she brought an aspirin. Or Advil, and then she brought a bottle of water. So with the little golden nugget that I gave her, I'm tired and I have a headache. She collected that golden nugget and then anticipated my needs.
Are women, so you've talked a little bit about the differences in the brains and what we use and don't use, are women better at noticing things like that?
Heck yeah, we notice.
Are you just saying that?
No, we notice everything. We notice everything. It's our business to notice.
Because this
details.
industry is mostly men.
Yes.
All right. So
Yes,
if
it
we're
is.
limited in our abilities, because just we're limited. We only
Yeah.
use one side.
That's why
all
you
right?
need to buy my book.
What do we do? How do we? All right, so let's go there
Yes.
first. So plug your book.
I'm
and
going to
then-
plug my book right now.
All right,
But Earning Her Business just came out on Amazon for pre-sale. It launches in stores September 1st.
All right.
But
Does it answer the question
it
I was about to?
answers
All right.
everything. But you ask the question and I'll
Yeah.
answer.
So, how does a guy who might be limited, not because they choose to be, just
you're
that
just
doesn't come as
physiologically-
naturally
yes,
to them,
yes.
how do they overcome that to be able to do recognize these golden nuggets
Yes.
better?
So, I mean, when I talk about the ways to tailor the experience to the female consumer, I talk about EQ, emotional intelligence. And unfortunately in the industry, it is, I mean, 90% of the executives are men, but women, 65% of all new vehicles in North America are being bought by women. And we influence 85% of the actual purchase when in a coupled relationship. So the experience is designed by men.
Yeah.
It's delivered by men for men, yet women are the ones that are making the purchases and or influencing the purchases. So there's a huge disconnect. Now, I would love to replace that part of my presentation and say hire more women.
All right.
Unfortunately, we're not there yet in the industry. We are not sharing the success stories of women making it to the top. And even more unfortunate is if you're a woman in the industry, not I, because I just got into the industry, but a lot of the kind of women that have had to claw their way to the top have a scarcity mindset. And they've had to work so hard to get there that they don't want to share the wealth.
Right.
So I don't think it's feasible to say, well, just hire more women, because the culture has to change. So in order for the culture to change, we need to increase our emotional intelligence. As gentlemen, I say we as if I'm part of the male gender, but no, men need to increase their emotional intelligence. And there are a ton of books, and in my book, I talk about how you can do that. So, and the importance and consequential thinking, being optimistic, showing compassion and empathy, revealing vulnerabilities. When you focus on those things, your mind is opened up to a heck of a lot more details. You pay much more attention.
So what's step 5?
Step 5, be consistent.
How do you mean?
Every customer, every time. And it goes back to, being genuine. If I know we all are on our hamster wheel and we all have so much going on.
Yep.
It's sometimes by noon, you just don't feel like it.
And you never know. We talked about this yesterday in our pre-NADA team booth meeting. Because it's very tiring to work.
It is.
And so you have to be on your A game at 4 o'clock because you never know which account turns into the one.
So I said you have to have that 9 a.m. interaction all
That's a
day
good way to put it.
long.
Yeah.
You've got to hit reset all day long. And I believe we have a 0 balance trust account with any of our customers, and it takes 12 positive interactions to make up for 1 negative.
Yeah,
so if we don't put positive deposits into this trust account and we drop the ball, and let's face it, we're human. We are going to drop the ball, then we're going to go into overdraft.
Yeah.
And if we go into overdraft, then it's almost near to impossible to get it back to that 0 balance.
Yeah.
Whereas you're given the chance to actually sell to that person.
All right. Men in the industry. All right. You only using, I think, which side of the brain?
Left.
The left side of your
the logical
brain.
side of the brain.
You're right, my left. All right. So you're somewhat handicapped here. All right. However, your book comes out when?
It's on pre-sale right now, Earning Her Business.
Earning Her Business.
It ships September 1st.
All right.
Yes.
So September 1st, but you can do it pre-sale
Yes.
right now. Buy it. Listen, if you have a chance to listen to Katie talk, all right, whether it's are you going to be doing future roundtables?
I've been doing future roundtables for sure, and I'm speaking all over the place.
We have recommended you to FCA, all right?
I hope that comes through.
Outstanding, but she's on to something here because, and it's not just about selling, this is about creating just a superior customer service. We talked to, I did a full podcast with Todd Blue, Indigo Auto Group.
Yep.
And it was an interesting thing because he did this niche where he only bought super luxury, Lamborghini, Rolls, Porsche, really high end.
Yeah.
He had money before he got into auto and grew it within 10 years to 19 rooftops and did a great job branding this. But he was used to traveling at Four Seasons and all this stuff and having
properties.
Correct.
Yes.
And so the reason he wanted to get into that niche of car dealers and resist the urge of, say, Honda and Toyota, where most of the most successful dealers that's what they own.
Yes.
Because that's the experience that he felt he could carry into because he knew what he expected.
Yeah.
You know?
So here's the thing. I always say, if you're looking at another auto dealer, you're doing it wrong.
100%
You
agree.
need to be looking outside the industry. And I will be the first person to say I've never sold a car, I've never worked in a dealership, I have not sat where people that are listening have sat, and nor will I pretend, but what I have done is had experiences and worked with some of the best 4 or 5-star properties.
And it's easy to do. You got to keep your eyes open, and you're sitting there paying attention, and you're like, that was really good service. How can I implement that into my business applications?
Yes. And sometimes it's as simple as sharing a story.
Yeah.
And going back to your team and sharing that experience. So there was this study done by a group of psychologists that say by the age of 16, it was scary. Our habits are set, like 16.
Wow.
Unless we experience an emotional event. And one of the easiest ways to transfer from what is to what could be is to share stories, is to have them be put in your experience. And then you feel that, and then you don't even realize that you're actually transferring best practices just through speaking.
So, give me an example of when that happens, or give me an example of something like that.
What do you mean, in terms of sharing a best practice?
Well, like sharing a story. I mean,
Okay, so let's go back to my story on board the ship.
yeah, there you go.
Did you see the fact that I was tired?
You're right. That's perfect.
And
Yeah.
did you see that, the knock on the stateroom door,
Yeah.
and that somebody offered me an Advil and a bottle of
Correct.
water?
Yes. Perfect.
I tell this story this story all the time about my daughter in bedtime, and I'll talk about how she pitter-patters up the stairs and her whole room glows pink, and we read 2 pages, and she gives me this hug at the end of the night and says, Mommy, you're the best mama ever. And I talk about how I feel. And whenever I say to the audience, did you hear the pitter-patter of the feet? Did you see the whole room glow pink? Did you feel how I felt? And they're all going like this. I said, that's the power of storytelling. I just shared my bedtime routine with you. And so if you have those experiences, and you know what, let's face it, dealers have those experiences because they've got money.
They do.
Go in and share it with your team.
Yeah.
And even better, if you could use experiential training, send them to a Four Seasons or to a Forbes 5-star rated property so that they can feel it. Ritz-Carlton does this so well. It does not matter what position you have in the company. You get, when you start, you get a full weekend at a Ritz-Carlton resort with your family so you can feel what it's like to receive 5-star experience, so you know how to give it.
Yeah. It always amazes me when you stay at a place like that and you walk in and you haven't really told anybody your name, and the next thing you know, they're greeting you, they know your name, they've got exactly what you want being delivered every morning. If you have kids, they know what's going on there, and they have special things in there.
But those are all the golden nuggets.
Correct.
And then using that information to anticipate your needs so that you don't have to work at the experience. They're doing it for you.
They never point you and say, hey, the restroom's over there. They walk you to it.
Yeah, there's never a show the way, not point.
That's exactly right. So outstanding.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott.
Yes.